out for a Dunwoody prep.
The motive is simple. He wanted his wife, he wanted his money, and he wanted to live his life. He wanted Andrea Snyderman. He wanted to be with her. He wanted to marry her. He wanted Rusty Snyderman's money. Rusty Snyderman had everything that Hemi Newman wanted.
Did Andrea admit or deny an affair with her boss at that time after the murder?
Denied it.
Based on all the time you've known Andrea, based on your observations of her, her mannerisms, when she told you no, did you believe her?
No, but my heart really wanted to believe her.
But you didn't believe her. Thank you, ma'am.
We, the jury, find the defendant as to count 1 guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but mentally ill.
It's more than about mental illness. It is about mental illness in the hands of a manipulator, of a calculating, very, very bad woman.
Do you have any idea why the defendant would have these feelings toward you? And I want you to speculate. Do you know why he might have them?
I think I'm a pretty nice person.
She actually thought she could take the witness stand and maintain the position that she's maintained since Rusty's death, which is that there was no relationship with Hemi.
The gun, in this case, was in Hemi's hand. But the trigger, I respectfully suggest, was pulled by Andrea Snyderman.
Ms. Snyderman was placed under arrest earlier today and is currently being booked into the DeKalb County Jail. Outlined in that 19-page indictment are 8 counts that I, along with Chief Assistant Don Geary, are prepared to argue in a court of law.
Andrea Snyderman is pleading to nothing. We expect that she will be exonerated at trial. She has every reason to believe she will be exonerated at trial, and she is going.
Well, her trial starts Monday, but Andrea Snyderman will not be facing murder charges. Yesterday, the judge approved the district attorney's motion to dismiss the most serious charges against her. I'm joined now by defense attorney Mike Gottlieb and former prosecutor Tanya Millard. Both of you, thank you for being with me. Mike, I want to ask you, because, you know, the judge denied a motion by Snyderman's attorney to delay this case. They were looking for 6 months to all the way up to a year of a delay. Let's listen to that argument. I want to get your thoughts on the other end.
Well, you know, the defense's request was that there's so much media attention. I'm sure that the media attention is not going to die down. I'm sure the judge sees that. In fact, you know, if they continue the case for 6 months or a year, I think the media attention towards this case is only going to get bigger and bigger, and the judge sees that. It's going to be as difficult today as it is to pick a jury in a year, and the judge wants to get some closure to this matter and wrap it up and be done with, you know, what the judge probably perceives as somewhat of a circus.
Well, let's listen, though, to Andrea Snyderman's attorneys. They had an argument as to why it should be delayed. Let's take a listen to that. So, Mike, their argument, you know, it's going to be impossible to find a jury that hasn't heard of Andrea Snyderman. But the question is, you know, in 6 months to a year, would that really change? You can't really you can't unring a bell.
Not at all. I mean, in a small town, they seated a jury that hadn't heard of George Zimmerman. So, you know, I think that case garnered a lot more national publicity than Snyderman's case, and I'm certain that there will be people that haven't heard of her case or have heard of it and said that they can still be a fair and impartial juror. So I think they'll be able to get a jury regardless of whether it's now 6 months or in a year. I disagree with the judge's ruling, and I think that in a case like this, they should give the defense more time, but I think that the judge is right. You're going to get a jury no matter what.
Mike, Tanya, thanks so much for being with us, and don't miss a minute of HLN's coverage of the trial of Andrea Snyderman. Jury selection.
All right. Juror number 4, you said that you recognized another juror.
when you came in on Friday or today?
I thought it was just anybody in the courtroom in general.
Oh, okay. All right, who did you recognize in the courtroom?
Actually, the judge.
All right, yeah, because you wrote down you went to high school with his son. Okay. Have you ever been over to the judge's house? Okay. Would you consider yourself close friends with the judge's son?
No, not spoken.
Not. Okay. All right. Is there anything about that fact that you recognize the judge and have that kind of connection with him? Anything about that you think would weigh on you one way or another if you were a juror in Judge Adams' courtroom?
No, I just simply stated it because it was asked.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And you also let us know that you have a concern about missing so much work.
Yes, that, and I start school in about 2 weeks.
Okay, about 2 weeks. Do you remember specifically what day you start school?
I don't.
Okay, about 2 weeks from about middle of August? Okay. All right, let me ask you first about work. You're a security officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you have, does the company where you work, do they pay you for jury days?
No, ma'am, no compensation.
Okay, did you check on that before you came? And you never did? Yeah, I suspect you did. All right. And if you were on the trial for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, what does that do to your financial situation if you are not working during that time?
It just gives me an extremely tight budget to work with.
Okay. And I'm not asking to pry, I'm just asking so that the judge can make a determination about it. If you are starting school in a couple weeks, would you not be working during that time that you were at school, or do you adjust your hours so you're still working full-time?
I do both full-time.
You do both full-time? Okay. Where are you in school?
Georgia Community College.
Okay. And how many classes are you scheduled to start in mid-August?
9 hours.
9 hours. All right, so you got 9 hours, and you got how long? You're working a 40-hour week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know what Georgia Perimeters, what their policy is about if you are missing classes due to jury duty?
No, I've not had this situation come up before.
Yeah, probably not. All right. Do you live by yourself? No, you live with your mom?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you are, and your mom is working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you do for some reason have a reduced income for a couple of weeks, does that impact you all so much that
I am the primary financial provider.
you are? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. No, you got more? Sorry. And you work, you have worked in the Dunwoody area?
I actually do off of Hammond Drive.
Okay. And is that just your routine? That's the property where you work? Okay. How long have you been assigned to that property?
Since May of last year.
Okay. You said that you heard something about the case before you came in Friday to fill out the questionnaire. So it was sad for the child, or you had some, just that? Okay. Do you have any opinions one way or the other about the guilt or innocence? Yeah, okay. Do you know enough about the case that when you're in Dunwoody, you've got any sense of where the crime occurred or anything like that?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Tell me a little bit about your opinions about the criminal justice system in general.
I do feel that at times it's biased towards different ethnicities.
Do you think at times it is biased against certain ethnicities?
Yes.
Okay, and what ethnicity, if you know, or can tell me in particular?
Specifically African American males.
Okay. Is that based on, what information is that based on? Like experience with your friends?
Observation of
okay.
previous cases that I've seen.
Okay. Do you think that any opinions that you have or the experiences or what you know about that situation, do you think that would weigh on you one way or the other if you were a juror in this case?
I don't.
Okay. Anything about, anything else about your general feelings about the criminal justice system that you think would make you lean one way or the other if you were sitting in a case like this? Okay. You had a tragedy in your family about your cousin.
Yes.
Okay. And where did that occur?
City of Atlanta.
City of Atlanta. All right. When did that happen?
Over this summer, I believe it was, earlier this year. April or May.
April of 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm sorry, there has been an arrest, but no trial yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you, beyond your family's involvement in it, are you involved in that case at all? A witness, anybody from the state talk to you, anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Do you get a sense from your family and the information you have about how the case has been handled by, I guess, the APD or the Atlanta Police Department?
No, I don't speak to them often to
Okay.
get their opinions on it.
You don't have any information about how somebody else in your family might feel about it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much.
1 second. Mr. Black, ask questions.
Sir, and I apologize. You were somewhat soft-spoken, so I want to make sure I understand what you were saying. In your job, if you were to sit on this jury, you would not receive compensation as a result during the period of time that you were sitting on this jury. Is that correct?
That is.
Okay. Would that weigh on your mind if you were actually selected to sit on the jury?
It certainly would.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that while the evidence was being presented, in the back of the mind you would be thinking, I'm not making the money I need to make to survive?
Yes.
Okay. And you are also starting back to school very soon, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I did not hear the specific date that you actually go back to school.
I'm not exactly sure, but it is either the second or third week in August.
Okay. And are you going to be taking classes during the day?
Yes, sir. Well, evening.
In the evening?
Yes, sir.
So if the school would not necessarily be interfered with if you were to sit on the jury and the trial were to go into that time frame, is that correct?
Not necessarily my class time, but study and homework time would.
Okay. And do you believe that would interfere with your ability to focus and concentrate on the facts of the case as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go to Georgia Southern for a period of time?
Yes, my first 3 years undergrad.
Okay. You indicated that in regard to beliefs about the criminal justice system that you believe that there is something of a double standard. Could you elaborate on that, please, sir?
I don't feel that the same resources or generally just the how can I say?
Let me just ask you this. Do you think black folks are treated less equally than white folks in the criminal justice system?
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay. And did you follow the recent case down in Florida with Mr. Zimmerman where Mr. Martin was the victim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that confirm your belief as to the inequity or unfairness of the criminal justice system?
Not necessarily due to those factors.
Okay. You understand that do you believe those feelings apply specifically to DeKalb County?
I can't say that. I can't speak and say that I've got anything to base it off of, no.
Okay. And obviously Mrs. Snyderman is Caucasian. Would that have any effect on your ability to decide this case fair and impartially?
No, sir.
Okay. You would, if you had to sit or got to sit on the jury, would decide the case strictly based on the facts that you had heard produced in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had had a bad experience with the police, or someone had a bad experience with the police. Could you tell us what that was, sir?
On several occasions, I've been profiled and illegally stopped and searched.
Okay. Was that here in DeKalb or was that elsewhere?
Once before in Clarkston and a few times in Statesboro, Georgia.
Okay. And do you believe that that was primarily by virtue of the fact that you were African American?
Yes, my parents.
Okay. And did that ever result in any sort of complaint that you might have made to a police department about that kind of behavior?
can't say that I was fully informed on how to exercise my rights at the time.
Okay. Would it be fair to say it was more of a nuisance than anything, or was it something more than a nuisance in your mind?
Because it never really resulted in anything drastic, I'd just say it was a nuisance.
Okay. You hadn't done anything wrong, so nothing happened as a result, but nonetheless, you got pulled over because you were black. Is that a fair statement, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think that experience would have any effect on your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in a criminal case?
I don't.
Okay. You volunteer for something called the Pittsburgh Community Group. What exactly is that, sir?
It's just a community service center that serves the Pittsburgh community area in Atlanta. I just did some basic volunteering as far as community cleanup.
How often do you do that?
Actually, it was only because I had court-ordered community service.
Okay. Right. Given your conflicts with both work and possibly school, do you think you would be able to devote complete attention to this case if you were selected to sit on a jury, or do you think your other concerns about, one, not making money, and two, going back to school, would affect your ability to focus on the case?
If I had no option otherwise but to be here, then I would devote my attention to it fully.
You could just speak up just a tad, sir.
Said if I had no option otherwise and I had to be here, then my attention would be fully focused on what it is I'm here doing.
Okay. You said if you had to be here, had no option otherwise. Okay. So you think you could, under the circumstances, pay close attention to the case, even if it interfered with your ability to work and go to school?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Please follow the instructions of the clerk. What's the state's position?
Sure is acceptable to the state, Your Honor.
Ms. Quay?
Acceptable to the state, or the defense, Your Honor.
Qualified.
Your Honor, just for future jurors, if there's a hardship issue raised like this juror's was, would the court want an opinion about it, or you're making your own determination and we don't need to draw it to your attention?
Councilman, I understand what you just said, but are you making...
I'm not making a motion towards this juror at all. I'm just, he expressed some concern about a financial hardship, and I wouldn't make a motion based on it, but I did want to draw it to the court's attention.
Thank you.
Okay.
You can remain standing, juror number 5. You may proceed, Ms. Voir.
Juror number 5, you care for your elderly mother every day, is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell me about what your day-to-day involves with caring for your mother, and how that might be a problem if you were a juror in this case?
My mother lives on the other side of town, northwest Atlanta. She's 89, she'll be 90. And she refuses to move out of her house.
Okay.
So I go from my house every day in the morning to give her her medication. What I did today, I left her medication on the porch last night. Last Friday, she couldn't find it, so she didn't get it. So yes, I do. She has a pacemaker, and I would force her, but that battery is being drained with any type of stress. So I just go every day to give it to her.
Okay. And is there anybody else in your family or who lives locally that could do some of the things that you would normally do if you were expected to be here at 9 o'clock every morning and that you couldn't leave until 5 o'clock at night?
If I have to be here at 9, I would do it myself.
Okay. Would that leave enough time for you to?
I just have to make it work.
Okay. All right. And I'm noticing just in your demeanor, and I'm saying that so it's clear for the record. Does that put some anxiety on you? Is that stressful for you?
To drive across?
To have to manage what you need to do with your mother and then be here at 9 o'clock. Is that something that can work, or is that something that's very stressful to you to think about doing?
It's all stress. I probably wouldn't. It's just life to me.
Okay. Okay. So that's something you think you could manage?
I'd have to.
Okay.
do what I have to do.
Okay. All right, I'm just trying to figure out if it's too much to ask you to do.
It would be too much if the battery drains and they don't know when, hopefully. But, you know, we've been waiting for a while, so.
Okay. Is there anything immediate, any doctor's appointments or anything in the next 3 or 4 weeks that that involving your mother that you need to be there for would be a conflict if you were here?
If she has to have a surgery, I have to be there.
Okay.
My brother's in North Carolina, but he will come.
But right now, no surgery is scheduled.
Right now, no surgery.
Do you have a time frame for when her pacemaker might require surgery?
It would depend on the next, you know how they call and
Yeah.
do a pacemaker check. It would depend on the next check.
Okay. Is the next check scheduled?
In August.
In August?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when in August? Early, middle, late?
I don't know. I would guess around the 9th, 10th of August.
Okay. Okay. All right. Was that you let us know about that situation in the questionnaire, and you also raised your number when the judge asked about conflicts or hardships or something that would make jury service difficult. Is that the situation you were talking about, or is there anything else?
No, that's the situation.
Okay. All right. Did you recognize somebody in the courtroom or in the jury pool?
The guy said that he knows me, and I think he's the man. When I look back, maybe he's the guy that put my oven in it. I'm so embarrassed with that. Because he looked like, I didn't know. And
Okay.
I think that's who he is, but I'm searching. I'm really trying.
Okay, so if it's not immediately coming to you, is it fair to say that if you and this person were on the jury together, that your relationship is not so close that that would impact you one way or the other?
If he could tell me who he is.
Did you happen to get his number?
I just know he's sitting
He was
in
sitting
the
back
corner.
there? The
24 or something like that.
Okay. All right.
And you think he may have put your oven in?
Yeah, I had an oven, and they couldn't fix the oven. I think he's the man who came and told me that he could not repair it.
The question would be, are there any hard feelings between you and the man who may have put the oven in?
No, he helped me.
Did you pay him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he really did help me because he could have drained
But I'm
me.
saying there's no dispute between you
Oh,
and that
no.
man possible.
No.
So if you and him were on the jury, you could serve with him,
Oh,
and he could
yes.
serve with you.
Yes.
And you just know he was sitting in the corner back there somewhere.
He was on the first row.
On the first row in the corner?
In the corner.
Where the gentleman in the blue suit, blue shirt is sitting
Yes,
there?
he
Okay.
said that. Yes,
That's fine.
Right.
Well, it's not him, but.
yes.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
All right.
24. Awesome. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. And you have one son who is self-employed.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. What does he do?
He has stores, cell phone stores in Columbus.
Oh, okay. Columbus, Georgia?
Yes.
All right. At one time, had he applied to be a police officer?
He
Or
did.
thought about going?
In Atlanta.
Okay. And why did he end up not doing that? He just changed his mind? Or what happened that he didn't end up going through that
I don't know, it
course?
was something with the last step.
Okay.
He just wasn't selected.
All right. Is he happy with what he's doing now?
Just opening up a store.
Yeah.
He's pretty happy.
Good. All right. You let us know that you had heard something about the case, but you don't have an opinion. Is that right?
I just had the TV on because I don't like watching all that stuff. And they just happened to be saying, I thought, wait a minute, that's what I went to on Friday. So I just happened to pass by the room that the TV was on. So
All right.
I did.
Before you had come in on Friday and filled out the questionnaire, had you heard anything about the case or known anything about the case before that?
Just pass and nothing, because it's embarrassing. I don't like all that.
Yeah. All right. Has anything that you did hear in passing on Friday or any time over the weekend, has that changed your opinion at all? Or the fact, I guess, that you have no opinion. Do you now have an opinion where you didn't before?
I didn't.
Didn't even pay
Because
that much attention?
The PowerPoint said you're not supposed to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Now you are a reading specialist. Is that right?
Well, I retired.
You're retired?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a part-time job.
Okay, and what's your part-time job?
UGA is educational specialist.
Okay. And do you teach a class, or you're involved in the education department there?
No, I will support teachers.
Support teachers. All right, great. All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Morgan, or Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. Juror number 5, you said that if chosen on this jury, you will need to drive from Stone Mountain to northwest Atlanta and then back to court every day. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And without going into either your address or your mother's address, approximately how long a drive is that in the traffic in Atlanta in the mornings?
Well, I try to leave early, so I would say about 20 minutes over, maybe 25, depending on how I can weave through.
And
Decatur.
this is medication that must be administered daily to your mom. There's no one else available to do it but yourself. Is that correct? But
Yeah, that's my aunt. No, they can't really do it. I'm the one.
okay.
I am the one.
And so you would be able to go from your home to northwest Atlanta to the court every day and still be here by 9. She does not need evening care. Is that correct? Would you go back?
She does, but my mother refuses. So.
Okay, I understand. I don't understand pacemakers at all. My understanding is your mom's pacemaker is at the end of its life, and there may be surgery soon. I mean, that's something they don't plan ahead for.
They have a battery, and the battery has to be replaced, and it's time for hers to be replaced. It's replaced something like every 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10 years?
Right.
Okay, so there's nothing imminent that you're aware of that she would need in the next couple of weeks. I remember the prosecutor asking you a similar question. I just want to make certain there's nothing that you're aware of that is imminent in the next 2 to 3 weeks, as far as you know.
Other than the phone check, and if the battery's down, then she'll have to have the surgery. So.
And did I understand that you would go to North Carolina for the surgery?
No, surgery's here. My brother's in North Carolina, so
Okay.
he will come. He's going to come. So.
Okay. And is this an outpatient type surgery if it were to happen?
Not at her age.
Not at 89?
For some strange reason, no.
Okay. You've got some good genes, juror number 5.
Yeah.
You were 20 years with the DeKalb County school system, is that correct?
At least.
Okay. And as a reading specialist, was that elementary or middle school or high school?
Elementary.
Okay. And now you're teaching the teachers, I understand, for Adderhold?
Well, I was in administration too. So I was a coordinator for 10 years in the CAB.
Were you a reading specialist coordinator?
Yeah, ELA they call it, English Language Arts.
Yes, ma'am. And based on the juror questionnaire, were most of these Title I kids?
I've worked all over the CAB, but basically on the South End, so that's Title I.
Okay.
South End is my area.
And also on your questionnaire, you are currently also continuing your education.
Yes.
Okay.
I just can't stop.
Well, congratulations. And is that something that you're doing currently? Are you enrolled in classes, or are these classes online? I mean, how does that work? And would this in any way interfere with your ability to serve as a juror?
Well, I hope to defend, but supposedly I have a date, but we'll see. I have to be ready. I'm ready to defend.
Oh, are you defending a dissertation?
Yes.
Okay. And is that scheduled in the near future?
Well, they've given me a tentative time, the 13th through the 15th, but you know how it is. You got to be ready. And I'm not, I need a meeting with my chair, so we'll see.
Yeah. The 13th through the 15th of August?
Yes.
You need to be prepared to defend a dissertation?
If she hasn't seen it yet, so she needs to see it, and she hasn't read it yet, and then the editing process. So I'm hoping.
Well, good luck. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Juror number 5, let me make sure I understand a couple of things. Let's start with the latter. You're saying you're possibly scheduled to defend your dissertation between August the 13th and August the 15th?
Yes.
And when was that scheduled? Has it been scheduled already?
Well, what the chair does, she'll say possible date. She wants to get me through. Sure. I've been working on it a very long time. So that's what we're hoping for, but she hasn't seen what I've done. She hasn't seen chapters 4 and 5 yet. So I'm supposed to be with her this Wednesday.
If you are on this jury, is it possible possible for the dissertation, presentation, or defense to be put off for September or later? And would it impact your ability to earn your PhD adversely?
I don't think it would impact it.
That's the first. The issue about the pacemaker that your mother has.
Yes.
And I understand everything expires.
Right.
Are you representing that it's near the end of its battery life this month?
They have been saying that.
Who's they?
Piedmont.
That's a hospital.
The hospital. The pacemaker clinic.
Correct.
They have been saying that. I know that it lasts 4 months. So what they do, when she goes, they'll look at it, but this time he said, I really think that it's going to have to be changed.
All right. As we are here today, or within the last week, have you or your mother been notified when it's going to be changed?
No.
Do you have a time frame when this procedure may have to take place?
Not really, nothing in writing, nothing concrete. You only have the word of the person who did the actual test. And he said, just looking at her, he felt like the time was growing short and that she would have to have it changed. That's where that came from.
Oh,
but as far as a date or something in writing, the doctor said, no, I don't have that.
But you understand the position the lawyers and myself are in. I got to understand because I'm.
Yes, I do.
And I'd say either we need someone who can be available and focus on this particular case for the next. I'm using a time frame.
Right.
Let's say 3 weeks.
Yes.
As you hear with me right now, do you anticipate that this procedure will have to take place within the next 3 weeks?
If I had to bet on it,
Well,
I would say
your best guess.
my best guess is, knowing my luck, no.
Okay.
That I will be with you. You needed me. That's just the
No, I'm
way.
saying.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you a question this way. Assuming the call comes, and I know the lawyers asked, is there anyone else in your family? I know that maybe, because obviously I'm not going to let you or anyone put their loved one at risk,
Right.
who could be available to accompany your mother to the procedure if it is needed within the next 3 weeks.
And then I could go down and see if my brother would come.
Oh, you'll be able to see your mom at night and
Yes.
in the morning. Yes, ma'am. You're going to be able to see your mom.
Okay. Well, he just have to come. My brother will come.
All right. And he's the one in Carolina.
North Carolina, but he works from home, so he could work from here. Let him do it for a while. And I have an aunt here. It's just that she's not. She has her own, and she has a brother here, and I'm sure that they would do what's necessary.
Sure. But if you are, we're not there yet, but if you were selected to serve as a jury, and I'm just using that period at the time, could you devote your full attention to listening to the evidence that comes from this witness stand and the instruction that I will give you during the course of the trial, and focus on that, because this is, like all cases, very important, without being distracted, thinking about your mom, maybe the pacemaker, and I'm asking you to defer when you get your, defend your dissertation.
I believe in the system, and I think that if you don't have good people, it's going to fail. So I would make myself do what's necessary.
Any follow-up questions from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
You just follow the instruction of the clerk, please.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Position of the state?
This chair is acceptable to the state, Your Honor.
Defense?
Acceptable to the defense, Your Honor.
All right. And while the next juror is coming, the lawyers approach for a quick second. All right, we're back on the record. Oh, that's right. Ms. Collins? And Ms. Green, I'm sorry. Ms. Hill?
Yes, Judge. Your Honor, state has no questions of juror 6. We have the agreement.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right.
Strictly from the questionnaire.
Thank you. This follows the instruction of the clerk. That'll be Collins.
Yeah.
Ms. Hill?
Juror number 7. I'd like to ask you a few follow-up questions from your answers this morning. I think you indicated that you had formed an opinion regarding the guilt or innocence of the defendant in this case. Is that?
No, that's not the one I raised my hand to.
Okay, so as you stand here today, you don't have an opinion one way or another?
No, not at all.
Okay. You also indicated, I believe, that you have changed an answer.
Oh, yes.
Since Friday.
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us what that was?
Oh, that's about, I wasn't sure about my brother was arrested for DUI, and I just want to make sure. And I think my nephew, I don't know what he was arrested for other than that.
Okay, so you want to tell us that your brother has been, or had been, arrested?
Has been.
Okay. And your nephew as well?
Yes.
Were you involved to the extent where you went to court with them, or?
No. That's out of state.
Okay.
Well, my nephew is in Georgia, but my brother's out of state.
Okay. Anything about what happened with either your brother or your nephew that you've learned about, say, in discussions with them, that might affect your opinion to sit as a fair and impartial juror if you're selected?
No.
Okay. I think you told us that you know a person.
No, not me. I didn't raise my hand for that. I only raised my hand for number 1 question, and the first question the judge asked, and I raised my hand for the one about the one I'm supposed to change.
That's it. You didn't raise your hand about a mental illness?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, my sister-in-law.
Your sister-in-law?
Yes.
All right.
I did raise my hand for that.
And I could have been wrong, but I did have it down in my notes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
No, you're correct.
All right. So your sister-in-law?
Yeah.
And can you give us a little bit more information about the type of disorder she suffers from?
She has mental imbalance.
Okay. And can you have you ever witnessed her imbalance?
She lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Amarillo, Carolina.
All right. All right. In your questionnaire, you told us that you are retired.
Yes.
From what?
I worked at Prudential in New Jersey.
In Newark, New Jersey?
Yes, I did.
What did you do for Prudential?
I was a data entry operator, plus I did various other jobs.
Okay. And you've been in DeKalb for 19 years. All right. I think you told us also that your brother has been through a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
Was there anything about...
No problem. Take it from me. No problem.
No problems. Okay.
No. And that wasn't here either. That was in New Jersey.
That was in New Jersey? Yeah. Okay. And just to reiterate, you actually indicated in your questionnaire as well that you are familiar with this case, but The very next question, you indicated that you have not formed an opinion. Is that correct?
No, like I said, the TV was on and it was on the other trials. And no, I didn't. I didn't get involved.
Okay, so if you are selected to sit as a juror in this case, do you believe you could be fair and impartial? All right, great. Thank you. No further questions, Judge.
If you remain standing, so the defense can ask questions. Thank you.
Several things, ma'am. First off, in response to Ms. Hill's question, you said you were familiar essentially with the previous trial. Is that correct?
Right. It was, the TV was on, and it was, you know, I watched it. But as far as getting involved in the trial, you know, interest, no.
Okay. Did you, the name of the individual in the previous trial, the defendant in the previous trial, was contained in the questionnaire. Prior to that, did you even know this guy's name?
No.
Okay. Did you actually watch any of the trial as it was occurring?
No.
Would you have just seen news reports during the evening?
Yes.
Okay. And based on that, did you form any opinion as to the guilt of the man who was previously on trial?
No, because I didn't watch it enough to give my opinion.
Okay. So basically, neither in that case nor in this one do you have an opinion simply because you don't know all of the facts, correct?
I don't know all the facts and I don't have an opinion.
Okay, and you would wait to hear all of the facts before you would have an opinion. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, I would.
You had indicated you had been a party to a lawsuit at some point in the past.
Yes.
What was that about?
My husband got killed in his job.
Okay, and were you the plaintiff in the lawsuit? You were the one bringing the lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay, did it actually go to trial?
No, it didn't.
So it was settled out of court?
Yes.
Were you satisfied with the resolution?
Well, yes, I was, because only thing I wanted was my husband's salary. Other than that, beyond that, I really it didn't matter to me.
So pretty much your demands or requests were met. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You also indicated you had been the victim of a burglary at some point in the past. How long ago would that have been, ma'am?
That's almost 40 years ago.
Okay.
It was in California.
Okay. So that's not something that would have any effect on your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No.
Okay. I don't believe I have anything else. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
State.
Juror 7 is acceptable to the state judge.
Defense.
We have no objection, Your Honor. She is acceptable.
Ms. Hill.
Yes, Judge. Juror 8. I'd like to ask you a few follow-up questions. Let's see. You told us that you have a potential conflict in your schedule. And you also indicated in the questionnaire that you had a work trip scheduled from the 19th of August to the 23rd?
Well, actually, I was on the 17th.
From the 17th?
Yeah, 17th through the 23rd. I forgot I was going out a couple days early to see my brother.
Well, that was actually going to be my question. Is it a work trip that cannot be rescheduled?
It's already paid for.
Oh, it's prepaid.
So I've already booked it. I actually have the receipt in my bag, just in case you need my itinerary.
I'm assuming you can't get a refund on that.
No, we don't buy those trips.
Okay.
Anything about
So,
the situation, and when I got home, I realized I did.
Okay. So you are aware of this case.
Yes.
Tell us first how you became aware about information involving this case.
When I turned on the news and saw it, I realized that it was the same thing.
The same thing as a case that you had learned about before?
Well, the names and the situation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So when you turned on the news, you realized that the case you had filled out a questionnaire for was the same case that the news was talking about. So when you saw the news coverage, did you see the story?
No, because they said not to listen to anything, so I turned it off.
Okay, all right. So as you stand here today, based on what little you may or may not have heard, have you formed or expressed any opinions as to the guilt or innocence of the defendant in this case?
No.
You also indicated that you or someone that you know has experienced sexual harassment in the workplace.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
It was me, and it was somebody that I worked with, and I had to report him.
You did report him?
Yeah, I talked to him first, and it didn't stop, so I reported it to our office.
Okay. Was it resolved after you reported it?
For a while, and then it started back, but he quit.
He quit, okay. Was this an individual that you had to work closely with, or just someone that was there in the office?
I didn't see him every day, probably twice a week.
And was this someone that maybe initially you had befriended or considered a friend, or was this someone who just completely decided to...
Considered a friend.
You did consider a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, things progressed to the extent where you felt as though you were being harassed.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit more information about when and how that happened.
Well, I knew he had a flirtatious personality, but never towards me. And all of a sudden, it started towards me.
Okay. And when it did start towards you, I know you ultimately reported it, but what, if anything, did you do in that instance?
First couple of times, I just laughed it off. And when it kept going, I told him that I didn't like it. And he stopped for about a week, and then I said, I'm really tired of this. And he stopped for a week, and it started back, and then I reported it. And our human resources person talked to him.
Okay. If you're selected to serve as a juror on this case, and if by chance you happen to hear information that relates to the workplace and potential sexual harassment, would your situation cloud your ability to listen to the evidence, or would you be able to set your personal experience aside and listen to the evidence and base whatever verdict you may reach upon the evidence only?
Based on the evidence.
Okay. Now, the other thing that you told us is that you know someone or close friend or family member who is a person who suffers with mental illness. Can you tell us a little bit about that? First, tell us who it is and the type of disorder they may have.
My daughter is ADHD with a mood disorder, and my brother is was
What kind of behaviors did he display?
Mood disorder and panic attacks and similar to bipolar.
Okay. And you actually did mention your daughter in the questionnaire. I think you also indicated that you are the sole caretaker of her. Is that correct? And your son. If you're selected to serve as a juror on this case, what impact, if any, will that have on your ability to care for your daughter and son?
Nobody else cares for them, and a lot of the times I work from home because she is an online at-home student, so I have to help her at home too because she had a problem in the public school system. So my boss lets me work from home when she's having problems with her issues.
Okay. How old is she?
17.
17. So is she out of school for the summer right now?
Mm-hmm.
So she's not taking classes as we speak?
Mm-mm.
All right. So if you were selected to serve as a juror on this case, obviously You wouldn't have to be there to sit with her while she's taking classes because she's not taking any right now.
No.
Do you know when her classes resume?
Both of them August 12th.
August 12th.
Oh, now I remember. My brother was diagnosed
Schizophrenic. Okay. All right. I wanted to ask you also, you mentioned in your questionnaire about your father, and that you assist with his transportation.
If it's raining or overcast or dark and he has to go somewhere, I have to drive him because he has a problem with vision when it's not bright outside.
If you're selected to serve as a juror in this case, would you be able to make other arrangements for someone else to drive him, or is it something that you have to do?
I might be able to make arrangements.
Okay. You also said that both you and your parents, and you have friends and families members who have been divorced. Is that correct? In any of those situations, did the divorce get, say, ugly?
One of my friends, yeah. Mine was okay.
It was okay. You all were able to resolve it.
And it was handled by Judge Adams.
Oh, okay. Anything about the fact that Judge Adams handled your divorce that would be weighing on your mind if you were selected to serve as a juror on this case?
No.
Okay. And your friend, is it something that you, I guess, have personal knowledge about? Were you there with her during the divorce?
No.
Did you have go to support her at the house while she was going through the divorce? Anything that would have allowed you to be, I guess, personally acquainted with what was going on?
No, only just from what she told us.
Okay. You also indicated that your former husband had been arrested for DUI. Is that correct? And you had some feelings about the case and the way it was handled. Can you tell us about that, please?
Well, he kept having to go back to court because it was the call came in from a police from Clarkston and DeKalb County, and when he went to court, apparently the two officers had told him two different things. One had offered him to let him call somebody to pick him up, but when he went to court, because the two officers were disputing, the judge just kept asking for evidence and recordings, and it just seemed messy.
Okay. And in your answer, you said you believe the case should have been dropped due to the police statements conflicting, right? Have you ever you've served on a criminal jury before, correct?
Yes.
And without telling us what the verdict was, did you have an opportunity to hear witnesses testify in that case?
Yes.
Okay, and so you understand the nature of a criminal proceeding and the way a trial goes, correct? If you had to listen to evidence, and let's just say the evidence conflicted in some way, would the fact that you believed your husband's case, your former ex-husband's case, should have been dismissed because of conflicting testimony, if you were to hear evidence that was not necessarily the same from two different witnesses, how, if at all, would that impact your ability to serve as a juror?
It would be hard to decide which way to go.
Okay. Would it be something that you could work through, or the fact that there's a conflict, you just could not get beyond that?
I guess it would have to be something besides those two witnesses.
Okay. All right.
That would make the decision.
Okay. So you could listen and actually, I guess, try and resolve any conflict yourself based on other information you might be given.
Yeah.
All right. And I mentioned the fact that you had served as a prior juror in a criminal case. Anything about that experience that still stays with you and kind of sits in your mind and make you not want to be a juror in another case?
No, it ended up fine.
Okay. You also made a comment in your questionnaire that you believe cases are won or lost on how good the lawyer is and not based on the actual crime. Let's talk a little bit about that, okay? Are you talking specifically about any one case, or are you talking about the criminal justice system in general? Give us an idea of what you meant when you wrote that answer.
I guess because there can be evidence that's not admitted based on one lawyer or the other one objecting to it, and if one lawyer is better than the other and they could bring out more information, then the lawyers are doing more of the work to me.
Okay.
So I guess it's what they can actually present.
And how does that affect your ability to listen to the evidence as a juror if you feel like maybe because this lawyer isn't as good as the other lawyer, there's information that you're not being given?
Just have to go on what you hear.
Okay, all right. So you could base your verdict, whichever way it would be, solely on the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You said you don't believe in the death penalty. You understand that that's not an issue in this case. Okay. So would you have any problem at all serving as a juror if you were selected to sit in this case?
My only problem would be the time that we would have to be here, how late, or with me being the only parent at home.
Well, as Judge Adams told you earlier, if you're looking, let's just say, a time period of 2 to 3 weeks, okay? And generally a regular business day from 9 to 5, 5:30-ish. Is that something you could swing if you were selected?
I guess so. I'd probably have to get some help in some of the evenings.
Okay. And when you say in some of the evenings, if you were to leave here by 5 or 5:30, would that present a problem, or?
Well, my daughter works in the evenings, and usually she has to be there at 4:30 or 5, so my boss lets me be at home to get her to work.
All right. Would you be able to get someone else to drive her, or are you her sole means of transportation?
Sole means, because there's no bus service where I live, and we tried the taxi, and they said that was too far for them.
Okay. And let's see, she's 17, so she doesn't drive. Okay.
Because of issues. She couldn't get a license.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I confer with the prosecutor.
Oh, you may. Yes, sir.
No questions, Judge.
Thank you. Mayor from the state.
Your Honor, by agreement between the state and defense, we have agreed to let juror number 11.
You can send to the hardship, Your Honor.
Based on her hardship.
You may proceed. This is juror number 13.
Juror number 13, I see that you have had a bad experience with law enforcement, and in fact, I'm quoting from your questionnaire, you said the prosecutor was a liar.
Not here. This, I never, it was in Texas before I even knew this person.
Okay.
So it's not nothing I experienced firsthand.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that situation?
It was a death penalty case in Texas, and the prosecuting attorney at the time, for the research I did on that, they didn't have any DNA evidence that this person actually committed the crime, and the state of Texas killed him anyway.
Okay.
Without any physical evidence at all.
All right, no physical evidence at all?
Yes, sir.
All right, you said the research that you did on it, let's start there. In what capacity did you do research on this case? Were you hired? Were you just interested as a citizen, or were you, this case personal to you?
It was personal to me since one of my best friends, her friend, is the one that they killed on death row. So she was actually giving me all the information about which the research that she's done, and a little bit that I did was the same thing that she did. So she probably did much deeper than I did.
And what type of research were you doing?
Old newspapers that she came across online, and about the same thing that her friend, going by what her friend was telling her.
Have you had occasion to research any other criminal cases?
No.
Right. Was there anything about what happened in Texas and your experience or your feelings about the Texas case or the prosecutor in Texas that would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No, sir.
You also have in quotation marks as well that you do not trust the system.
Yes.
All right, so when you say the system, were you referring to the criminal justice system?
I mean, I was still stuck in a Zimmerman trial. I do apologize, but...
No. We're looking for your honest opinion.
Yes, sir.
Nothing to apologize for.
I do believe the system does work, but sometimes it seems unfair.
When you say sometimes it seems unfair, is there any particular example that you can give me?
For example, what seems unfair to me is when you, like the case I was telling you about, my friend's friend that was killed on death row in Texas. To me, it seemed unfair to, from what I understand, his case seemed very unfair because his attorney, his prosecuting attorney, his defending attorney didn't do much to assist him. The prosecuting attorney had lied about a lot of things. So. Okay. Nothing against you or anyone, but I'm just saying.
I understand. I have another quote that I wrote down. It's something to the effect of, the system only works if you're white. Is that your statement?
I almost think that's the wrong trial right there.
Okay, and that's fine. You know, no judgment. But what I need to ask you is that the defendant is Caucasian, is white in this case. Is there anything about that, about her race, that would keep you from sitting as a juror, listening to the evidence, listening to the witnesses, and making a decision based on the evidence and what you hear from the witness stand?
So is there anything that would...
Is there anything about her being white that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror?
No.
Okay. You also indicated that you have had experience, or someone close to you has had an experience with sexual harassment. All right. Was that you personally or someone else?
It was my sister.
Okay. Can you tell us about what you know about that situation?
The only thing I know, I'm not really close with her, but she's in the Navy, and someone, I guess she had her hair like in the way she had her hair fixed at the time, the guy stuck his finger in and said something highly inappropriate to her. So she just went to her officer that was higher than her and reported it, and I believe that I think he got in trouble for it. But that was it. But I mean, as far as her feelings and everything, she was angry, but she didn't really discuss much with me about the whole situation. And that was it. It was handled like it should have been.
So I understand you to say that that she disclosed it or reported it immediately.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she did.
And I understand you also to say that it was handled, meaning that the Navy took care of it immediately.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know of any discipline that the person that stuck his finger in her hair and made those comments got?
I think he was demoted. I do believe he was demoted, but after I didn't really
Did she being your sister, ever tell you or indicate that she received any type of backlash or mistreatment in the Navy for reporting sexual harassment?
No, sir.
All right. I'm looking at question number 54. And you have she, and then, quote, allegedly had an affair with him. I don't know if that's true. Tell me where you learned that she allegedly had an affair with him, and I assume you're talking about Hemi Newman, correct?
I guess that's his name.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they said a long time when the case first started. I mean, a long time ago. And because I never did file the case, so I don't know what happened with that. That's why I said allegedly.
Okay.
Because it's alleged, but I don't know.
Okay. And when you
I
said,
never filed this case at all.
and when you said that's what they said, are you talking about what you heard on the news?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Have you heard anything about this case since then? What you just told us about?
No, because actually earlier last week I saw her name on the AJC.com. They mentioned her name, but I didn't go into the article. I was like, I just went on to something else. I didn't read the article at all. I was interested in the article.
Is there anything about this case that you know of so far? Understanding that you don't know much, but anything that you may have heard about in the media or on the news that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No, I don't watch the news. The city pressing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Juror number 13, is it fair to say that you have a healthy degree of skepticism towards what you see in the media?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and could you elaborate on that and tell us why it is you have that skepticism?
Okay, I'll give you a prime example.
Sure.
The church I go to is the Birth Missionary Baptist Church, and with the accusations that went out against my pastor, I just did not find any of those to be true, but the media flipped it as if it was. So I don't really believe what they say in the media.
Okay, and that would have been with Bishop Long, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know any of the individuals who were making the accusations?
Not directly, no.
Okay.
Indirectly, yes.
Okay. But you heard one picture in the media, and you knew something from your own observations and personal interactions with folks. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In describing your opinion in this case, as Mr. James said, you heard that they allegedly had an affair, and you put allegedly in quotes. Any particular reason why you put that word in quotes?
Because it's the media. I don't believe the media. I believe that they will tell you they will tell you the story the way they want you to perceive it. And so I just really don't believe much the media says. I just don't.
Do you believe that the media on occasion sensationalizes situations?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay. Now, how much of the previous trial in this case with Mr. Newman did you watch?
Negative zero. Not at all.
Okay. I know there was both print coverage and TV coverage and probably radio as well. Primarily, where would your knowledge have come from for you to have gained previous knowledge about this case?
When you're flipping through channels, a couple of years ago, Channel News had something on about it, and I just saw that little part and I just flipped it. That's why I said allegedly, because I don't really know. I didn't really watch the news. I just remember saying that.
Did you familiarize yourself with the cast of characters who were involved in the previous trial?
No.
Okay. I noticed on your questionnaire, in response to the question about specifically using the name Hemi Newman, you had written, "Who is Hemi Newman?" Does that indicate you did not know that individual's name?
Right.
Okay. And did you recall any of the other testimony or roles of the other people involved in the trial?
No, sir.
Okay. Could you tell us who were the prosecutors in that previous case or the defense attorneys in the previous case?
No.
Okay. So is it fair to say that as you sit here today, or stand here today actually, you are pretty much perfectly impartial between one side and the other?
Yes, sir.
You would decide the case based on what you heard in this courtroom and on nothing else?
Yes, sir.
Now, you did mention something about possibly having issues with taking your son to get medication, but I guess you said that could be rescheduled?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is not present itself as a conflict, is that correct? First 48. How often do you watch that particular TV show?
Every once in a while.
Okay.
I try not to because I may end up watching it all day. I don't watch it that often.
Okay.
I watched it maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
I don't even remember what happened on there.
It is my understanding that in the past there have been episodes on that particular show that focused on cases out of DeKalb County. Do you recall ever having seen any of those cases that focused on a situation out of DeKalb County?
No, sir.
Okay. As far as you know, had you ever received any sort of footage on that show of a court proceeding in DeKalb County?
No, sir.
Your first cousin was the victim of a homicide. How long ago was that?
89.
89?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You would have been much younger at that time. Are you really 48, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess you would have been 25-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, 24 times to 25.
Okay. Were you living in the same location where that occurred?
No, sir. I was here and he's in New Orleans.
Okay. And so you did not actually attend any sort of court proceeding relative to that case. Is that a fair statement?
They didn't have it.
Nobody ever caught?
The police knew who it was because the witnesses would not come forward. The case just dropped.
Okay.
And
Presumably folks were intimidated for whatever reason. Okay. Let me go back to the subject that Mr. James talked to you about your belief that there is some sort of, I guess, a different system for white folks and a different system for black folks. Understandable. Obviously, do you think that applies in DeKalb County?
I've never seen it in DeKalb County, no.
Do you think, would it be fair to say that you would like the system to work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. You believe right now the system works for white people, but not necessarily for black people. Is that correct?
In Texas, but not in, I've not experienced that in Georgia. No, sir.
Okay. That is something you believe probably is more likely to occur perhaps in Texas. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You did watch, I guess, some of the Zimmerman court proceedings on Nancy Grace or shows of her ilk. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think your opinions as to the inequality in treatment of members of different races in the court system in other jurisdictions would affect your ability at all to be a fair and impartial juror if you were selected to sit in this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Obviously, Mrs. Snyderman is Caucasian.
Yes.
Would you be able to decide this case based on the facts and the facts alone and leave aside any issue of race?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You work on a TV ministry production company. Is that out of New Birth?
Yeah, I work, that's my volunteer. I volunteer as a camera person inside the church when we have service.
Okay. You do that how often?
Whenever they schedule me, every once in a while, I might go for prayer service or it's whatever they call me, and it's not that often.
Okay. And are services at New Birth still telecast on local channels?
Local, I'm not certain.
Okay,
I know
but
they're on the Word Network.
okay.
I don't think it's local anymore.
I don't believe I have any other questions. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Did you follow the instructions of the clerk? State.
Qualified, Your Honor.
Fence.
I agree, Your Honor.
All right. Should be next. Thank you. Mr. James?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I understand that you had an experience with law enforcement, something involving a disorderly house? Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was my birthday, and we was wrapping things up, and had turned the music off, and some officers came to my house, and they started asking everybody for the ID and stuff like that, and got real, so they locked like 3 people up, but when we went to court, they dismissed it.
Okay. So if I ask you if you were satisfied how that case was resolved, I presume your answer would be yes. Okay. Did you feel that you were treated fairly by, let's start with the police, by the police in that case? A little bit. You can be honest. If, a little bit. Not really? Okay. How about when you got to court, did you deal with the prosecutor's office? Was it city court, or was it in the DeKalb County, in this courthouse? Okay. Okay. Did you deal with the prosecutor? Or? It never got that far? Okay. I also see you indicated that either you or someone close to you has had to deal with divorce. Who is that?
My mom.
Your mom? Okay. Are you familiar with that situation?
Not really. I was young.
Okay. Mom never talked to you about it? Okay. Is there any reason whatsoever that you can think of that you would not be able to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case? All right. And when I'm going through the questionnaire, I see also that you really haven't seen any media coverage about this case.
I haven't had cable TV in my house within a
Yeah.
year. I don't think it is.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a few follow-up questions. Juror number 14. You grew up in Madison? Okay. And your children, did they grow up in DeKalb, or did they grow up in Morgan County as well?
They grew up in Fulton.
Oh, in Fulton? And did they grow up in the home with you? And where was your last employment? What did you do before?
I was working at Cracker Barrel in Madison, Georgia.
In Madison? And how long ago has that been, ma'am?
It's been about 2 or 3 years.
In 2 or 3 years. And then you moved over to the Atlanta area? You weren't commuting from here to Morgan County? You were not commuting from here to Madison? Okay. And your son lives with you as well? Okay. And you said you knew something about this case. Was that from television, radio, internet?
People talking about it.
Just people talking about it, but you have no opinion one way or the other. Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Follow the instructions of the clerk. Mistake.
Qualified, Your Honor.
Defense.
No objection, Your Honor.
15 to be next. Mr. James?
Yes, sir. I understand that you've not seen any media coverage about this case? Okay. I also understand that a family member of yours went to jail for a crime involving a child or a little kid. Is that correct? All right. Do you feel like he or she was treated fairly?
Well, he did.
He did it? Okay. Was that here in DeKalb County? Buffalo, New York. Is there any reason you can think of at all that you would not be able to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case? No. Thank you.
Mr. Peter?
You currently work for DOC? Okay. Department of Corrections, with a particular probation department, or are you at a central office?
No, I'm at Tiff College in Forsyth, Georgia.
Okay. And how long have you been with them?
Since 2005.
Okay. And if I read, that sort of got a little weak in the Xerox in here, it looks like you are involved in the administrative end, not in any kind of law enforcement capacity with arrest powers or anything like that. Okay. Have you ever been involved with DOC in any other capacity from the one you've told us about in your written questionnaire? Okay. Just a moment, please, ma'am. The question, have you or any friend, and by friends I guess I mean close friends or relatives, ever been in any law enforcement capacity? You answered yes to that. Is there anybody other than yourself who's been connected either administratively or with arrest powers in law enforcement? No. Okay. And if I read your answers correct on the questions about publicity with this case, you have not seen, to your recollection, any publicity in this case that would affect your ability to serve as a juror. Is that correct?
Not at all.
Okay. And having come to court and actually seen some of the actual people involved in it, your answer still is you could be fair to both sides in this case?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. If you just follow the instructions of the clerk. Any objection from the state?
No objection, Judge.
No from the defense.
Qualified. Which stand to be next?
Your Honor, for waiting 16 nights, is 18 still absent? Do we know?
Let me double, I'll confirm.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello. You may proceed.
Juror number 16, you're in college now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what year?
I will be a sophomore.
Okay. And when do your classes start?
Kennesaw starts classes on Saturdays, so it'll be August 17th.
And do you know what the policy is about missing classes for jury service?
Not particularly for jury service, although I do know the attendance policy.
Okay, let us know what the attendance policy is.
If you miss 3 classes, you are dropped a letter grade.
If you miss 3 classes, you're dropped a letter grade.
Yes.
Okay.
In that particular class, not 3 total.
How many classes do you have in a week? Do you have a class? In other words, let me restate the question. Do you have a class that meets 2 days a week?
It depends on the class.
Okay.
I'm taking six classes that meet 2 days a week and 1 class that meets 1 day a week.
Okay. So you're taking 6 classes that meet
2 days a week.
2 days a week and 1 class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. How would it affect you if this case went into the latter part of August and you missed, say, 2 weeks of class?
Well, I think it definitely would affect me, and then I would say later on in the semester I had to miss because I was sick or another reason, I wouldn't be able to. Also, I would miss a lot of instruction, especially in the classes that the one class that I have only 1 day a week.
Yes.
It's a 2-hour and 45-minute class, and I've had 3 classes like that in the past, and it's really hard to afford to miss those, just because there's so much instruction in 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Can you tell us about your transportation capabilities?
Yes,
All right.
or lack thereof, actually. I do not drive and I do not own a car.
Okay. So how do you get to school?
I live on campus.
Okay.
and to come back to Decatur, where I work. On weekends, I take the bus, the Cobb County Transit bus, and
Yes.
MARTA.
Is that something that you could do during the week?
Yes, I guess conceivably. Although the trip is, it takes about an hour. The commute is an hour at least, if not longer. And it would mean perhaps missing more classes than I would otherwise.
Okay. In the questionnaire it says, do you have any religious, moral, or ethical convictions that would affect your ability to pass judgment on the defendant? Your response was, I do not know. I think it would depend on the situation. Can you enlighten us?
I guess. I don't have a religious affiliation. I think they would affect it, but I guess it would just depend on the situation as to what ethics I would choose.
Well, let me ask you this question. There is going to be a trial, and if you're selected as a juror, you have to sit and listen to evidence and make a decision based on the evidence that you hear, based on the testimony and any other evidence that's presented to you. Do you think that you could set aside any moral, ethical, personal, religious feelings or beliefs and do that?
Yes.
Okay. And so when I read this question and it says, do you have any religious, moral, ethical convictions that would affect your ability to pass judgment on the defendant?
Mm-hmm.
Is your response, yes, I can, or no, I cannot?
I guess my response would be, I have no convictions that would influence that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can render a verdict based
Yes.
on the facts and the
Yes,
evidence. All right. I also see that you have someone that is close to you that was involved in a divorce.
Yes.
Okay. And who is this?
My best friend.
Your best friend.
Yes.
Was it a contentious divorce, or do you know enough about it?
Somewhat. I mean, my memory of that divorce was really from her point of view, simply because we were both kids and it emotionally affected her.
Okay. I'm looking at question number 62, where it asks you, do you know or have you heard of the judge in this case or any of the lawyers, so forth and so on? And you say, I have not heard of this judge or these lawyers, and you have an arrow, and maybe it's nothing, but I have to ask the question. You have an arrow, and it appears to be pointing specifically to my name and to the name of Kelly Stevens Hill, who also is with the DA's office.
I didn't mean it specifically. It was just a blanket.
Just a blanket.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So are you familiar with the lawyers who do not have arrows by their names?
No, I'm not familiar with any of the lawyers involved.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Clegg?
Yes, sir, thank you. Juror number 16, let me just make sure I understand. You only get so many excused absences during the course of a semester.
Yes.
Okay, and how many is it?
You get 3, and then that's it.
Okay, and can you have an excused absence? I guess these are unexcused absences. Can you have an excused absence?
Yes.
And is jury service an excused absence?
I'm not altogether sure.
Okay, so it is possible that if you have a civic duty or obligation to sit on a jury, the school will not punish you as a result.
It's possible, although I guess what I miss in instruction might not be punished, but will sort of punish me in a sense.
Okay. Do you think if you were to sit on this jury, it would affect your ability? Would you be worrying about your missed schoolwork?
Yes.
Okay. Would that affect your ability to focus and listen to what is going on this trial, if you were selected?
To some degree, I think so, definitely. I have to move all my stuff up to Kennesaw. I'm sort of preoccupied with getting all that completed. I'm also currently participating in an internship for college credit, and I do have some things that I'd like to finish up before I go back to school.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am.
Please follow the instructions of the clerk. State.
Your Honor, I would move for the historical cause based on hardship. She's a young woman in college. She would have to take the bus here. I presume that would require her to get up very early. She'd also have to miss college classes, and we're not exactly sure if those absences are going to be excused. If they're not excused, obviously it's going to drop her a letter grade in the class based on what she articulated. Even if they are excused, however, at the beginning of the school year, it's going to push her back a considerable amount in terms of her instruction. And I think she also said that she'd be...
Excuse me. Oh, 1 second. Just hold 1 second.
That she would be somewhat distracted as well. And based on the aforementioned reasons, I would ask that she be excused.
Your Honor, I believe Mr. James has succinctly and cogently stated a basis for hardship, and we would not oppose the motion.
All right, Lord, I will concur. Here we go. You bring in next. The 17 will be next.
Juror 17. I am going to ask you first about the situation you alerted us to about your financial situation if you were on a jury of this length. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Just that if it's going to be like 3-4 weeks, that would be financially difficult, but...
Okay. And you said you get 3 paid days for jury service. Yes. Could you use one of those days today?
Yes, Friday.
Friday. Okay. All right. If for some reason, or if because you were selected on this jury, you were absent from work for this purpose to be here with us for 3 weeks approximately, how much of a financial impact would that have on you and your family?
It'd be significant, but I mean, I could do it.
You could do it? Okay. You also let us know that you had heard some press about this case or something in the media about this case since Friday when you came to fill out your questionnaire.
On the radio.
On the radio?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what specifically you heard?
It's 106.7. They just go over all the news bulletins. So.
Okay. Is there anything that you heard since you filled out your questionnaire on Friday that causes you to have an opinion about the case?
No.
Okay. Did you have an opinion about the case before?
No.
Okay. But you had heard about the case?
I heard about it.
Okay. And explain if you heard about the case but you don't have an opinion, is that because you don't have enough information or you just...
I didn't have enough information to formulate an opinion.
Okay. The questionnaire asked you a general question about the criminal justice system, and your answer was that you didn't believe that it was fair. Can you tell me about your feelings about that?
Just overall, but I mean, nothing like isolated or anything, but just that, our justice system, it's been evolving, but it's improvement.
Okay. Is your opinion particular to DeKalb County or any experience you or a friend might have had in DeKalb County, or is that kind of your feeling in general?
No, just in general.
In general, okay. Is there any particular case that has led you to that conclusion or that gave you that impression?
No, just the trajectory.
Just
the entire justice.
Okay. All right. Your brother was involved in a situation.
Yes.
Was that here in DeKalb County or was that somewhere else?
Fulton.
In Fulton, okay. Do you know about how long ago that was?
2 years ago.
Okay. And was your brother, he was a police officer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you follow that case very closely?
No.
Did you go to any of the court hearings or anything like that? Do you have an opinion about how or if your brother was treated fairly in that situation?
No, I didn't attend any hearings or anything. So
Okay. Does he have an opinion about whether he was treated fairly in that situation?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Is there anything about that that situation that would lead you to feel one way or the other about sitting as a juror in a criminal case?
No.
Okay. Is this the same brother who was in the Army?
No.
Okay, it's a different brother. Okay. What is that brother doing now? Is that brother still in the Army?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And that's his career? How long has he been in?
Right. He actually just finished school, so he'll be a second lieutenant in Korea this winter.
Okay. All right. You have a child who is elementary school age?
Yes, he's not.
And what school is that child in?
LPA, Leadership Preparatory Academy.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand the abbreviation. Okay. When you were a victim of a crime, or the situation you relayed in the questionnaire about being a victim of a crime, or someone who you know had been a victim of a crime, and you were unsatisfied with the police response?
Yeah, I've been a victim of a crime.
That was you? Okay. Can you tell me about that?
My car was burglarized twice, stolen once. No police came out.
They didn't come out? Okay. Was that here in DeKalb County?
Yes. They took a report over the phone, but I mean, I think it's just standard procedures.
All right. So based on what you told me, there was no arrest in the case?
There was an arrest and a conviction.
Okay. Did you ever have to participate in the justice system? Anybody, did you come to court as a result of that?
No, we didn't have to go to court or anything.
Okay. Did somebody call and let you know then that that's what happened?
Via letter.
I'm sorry?
We got a letter from the,
Okay.
I guess it's the DA's office, I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, let me ask you first about your experience with the police in that case. You said they didn't come out. Did you have any contact with police in that instance other than they took the report over the phone?
When it was burglarized, no. When the car was actually stolen, we met them because the perpetrator used my car.
Okay.
I was on the phone with the bank.
Okay. And what did you think about your involvement with police in that? Were they helpful? Was it somewhat not completely overwhelmingly helpful? Okay. And what about in the situation where there was an arrest and then a conviction with your contact with the district attorney's office, which is a letter, was, did you feel that was satisfactory?
No, I was surprised with that, yeah.
You were surprised you got it? Okay.
It was helpful to know at least.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything about any of those situations that you think would weigh on you one way or the other if you were a juror in a criminal case?
No.
Is there anything I didn't ask you about that that you think would impact your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in the case?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just a few follow-up questions. Juror number 17. Your brother, was he convicted of violation of oath? Or,
yes, he was.
And was that in a jury trial or did he plead?
I didn't attend any hearings. I'm not positive on that.
Okay, so you're not very close to him?
He's my half-brother, but no, we weren't living together at the time.
Okay. And so he shared nothing with you about the circumstances of that?
Correct. I found out through my mom.
Okay. In the questionnaire, you also say you shared custody with your 9-year-old son. Is that right? Okay. What is your role in that shared custody arrangement?
We live together. We're not married, but we live together and we share custody.
Okay, so you're not sharing custody with someone outside the home.
Correct.
All right. So you and your girlfriend share the responsibilities of child care together.
Yes.
Okay. And your involvement in the jury duty in this case would not have any effect on how y'all arrange the child care then?
No, it shouldn't. She's a school teacher, but I mean, it should.
Okay. And again, you're a technician specialist with Canon.
Correct.
Right. And even though you would lose potentially a significant amount of pay over a period of time, that will not impact you to the effect that would deter you from serving on this jury. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Just kind of move the podium back a little bit. I'm having a hard time seeing.
Yes, sir. That one, let me move.
Okay.
Self-confidence. Please follow the instructions. Please. Thank you. Juror number 17. Yes, Lord, you can move that. What's the state's position?
No objection to this jury, Your Honor.
Nothing?
No objection.
All right, he's qualified.
Your Honor, before the next juror.
He's not available. Number 18. He'll be back tomorrow.
Your Honor, in fact, we have an agreement about juror 18. We don't need to bring him back. By agreement of the parties, he has a pending medical condition.
That is correct, Your Honor. He knows the witness and has a pending medical condition, so
We
unless the
will.
court just wants to bring him.
I'm saying, we'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
I have no objection to that procedure. Hello, she has a couple of questions for you.
Yes. Juror 19. You raised your hand about a potential hardship or a conflict with jury service. Can you tell me about that?
I am my children's primary care person. Their daycare's over at 6.
Okay. And you've got an 8-year-old and 2 5-year-olds? Okay. The judge has let everyone know that we expect the courtroom proceedings to end at 5 o'clock, approximately 5 o'clock every day. If that were the situation, would that address your concern?
As long as I could be able to pick up, I have to go 2 different places to pick up kids up.
Okay.
It's in Decatur, so
Okay.
I could be out of the building by 5:30. I think I can make it.
Right. But is there any other, besides your child care pickup issue? I think everyone understands.
Well,
Is there another one?
no, I'm a teacher, and the kids start on Thursday. And
They start this Thursday? Okay, so you are a teacher in the City of Decatur schools. Okay. What kind of arrangements do they make when a teacher or other staff member is on jury duty?
they would have subs.
They would come in? Okay. Aside from the concern you have for your students wanting the continuity of having you there from the beginning, is there any other work situation that is... All right, I think you also raised your hand that you recognized one of the other jurors or one of the participants?
Yeah.
Okay, what...
He does puppetry stuff with my son at his aftercare.
He does what?
Puppetry.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have any conflict with this person? Okay. Any particularly strong relationship with this person that would sway you if you were both on the jury? Okay. All right. You have heard about this case. All right. Do you have any opinion about the case?
Not a strong opinion.
Tell me a weak opinion. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with having heard about the case and having an opinion about the case. So we're just trying to figure out what that might be.
I understand the dynamics of having an outside of marriage affair and how that can sway one's judgment.
Did you have you followed this case particularly closely? Would you say you followed it at all?
Followed it? No. I mean, it's kind of hard to not see stuff going on.
And you said you had no opinion when you filled out the questionnaire on Friday. Is that still your position? You have no opinion on it?
No.
Okay. You did see some press over the weekend. You let us know. Okay. Is there anything about what you saw that makes you now have an opinion where you otherwise did not?
No.
Okay. Not for or against either side, guilt or innocence of. Okay. All right. And you understand, of course, that anything you would have read or seen that's not evidence.
Correct.
Okay. And that the jurors in this case would need to decide the case just based on what they hear in court. Do you think you have any trouble doing that if you were a juror in this case? Okay. You question a little bit about the criminal justice system's just the fairness in general. What's your opinion about that?
It depends on how much money you have to how little time you have to serve or whether you get served correctly or not.
Okay. Is that based on any experience that you've had or someone you know had? Okay.
Just watching how things can work.
Any particular case leave an impression on you, or that's just your general impression?
General.
Okay. Again, having opinions is one thing, but being a juror in a criminal case, do you feel you'd be able to set any of those opinions you might have as a casual observer when you were an actual participant in a case if you were on the jury?
Would I be able to set them aside?
Would you be able to set them aside? Okay. You think you'd have any trouble doing that? Okay. You recognize Mr. Morgan as someone who had perhaps spoken at your school. Do you have any other relationship with Mr. Morgan other than... was it one time, several times, just occasionally?
3 or 4 years or something.
Okay. Do you have, he's quite charming, do you have an impression of him that would impact you one way or the other if you were a juror on this case? You think you'd be able to leave aside whatever interaction you might have had with him and just focus on the guilt or innocence of the defendant, as a jury would be charged to do? Okay. Your father was in the National Guard for 20 years? All right. Is he retired now? Where is he a sheriff's deputy or a volunteer sheriff's deputy?
He was, and he's not now. He was in Tennessee.
In Tennessee. Okay. All right. And your personal situation that you let us know about. Is there I don't need details, but is there anything about that situation that would be conflicting or weighing on you as you were a juror in this case? Possibly? Okay. Can you be more specific about that or tell me how you think it might weigh on you?
Just going through similar
Mm-hmm.
things.
All right. Knowing that you have got an emotional, that's my word, not yours, but is that an accurate? Okay. Personal situation, do you think you could leave that aside and just judge the issues in the case based on the evidence of the case?
I hope so. I'm
Okay.
not 100% sure. I cannot say.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that makes you believe that you couldn't? Anything in particular makes you believe that you couldn't?
No, it's fresh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. One moment, please.
You may.
Thank you, Juror 19. I asked you about Mr. Morgan, but I did not ask you about Mr. Petrie.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, I know it.
Okay. Did you teach or had you ever taught his child?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he? Okay. So do you recognize the name? Do you recognize his? That's it. Okay. Anything about that situation that you think would? Okay. When I asked you a little bit about what you'd heard about the case, and you kind of brought it back to being a teacher, and you said you couldn't believe that the situation was took place in front of children or around children. What did you mean by that?
That the original act happened near children, and I that was fresh because my children were in daycare at that time. So
Okay.
I was shocked by that.
Okay. Were you expressing shock at the tragedy of it, or okay? When you said you can't believe it, does that mean that you'd formed an opinion that it couldn't have happened because it happened around children, or were you just expressing concern about the?
Right.
Okay. I understand. Okay. Anything I didn't ask you about that you think we should know, or anything that would weigh on you as a juror?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Clay?
Yes, ma'am. Let me just make sure I understand. Is in your questionnaire you had indicated that you knew something about the case, and your primary concern was that it had happened at a facility where children could have either been endangered or perhaps witnessed the event. Is that correct? If you could just speak up for the record, please.
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say that those concerns do not reflect one way or the other as to the specifics of any allegation being made, other than a generalized concern that someone would attempt to commit or commit such an act in close proximity to kids?
Can you rephrase that?
Okay. The fact that you have a concern that a homicide was committed near kids, does that cause you to have an opinion one way or the other as to whether or not Mrs. Snyderman is guilty of the crimes that she is charged with in this indictment?
In this indictment, no.
Okay. That was one heck of a pregnant pause.
I know.
And so I am guessing that you were thinking it over.
Right.
Could you tell us what you were thinking?
Sure. I was trying to take the analytical part of it and out and take the emotional piece away. So analytically, I understand that as of right now, there's no guilt or innocence, or there is innocence and no guilt at this point. So I can't rationally say that she had anything to do with that, rationally.
Okay. Analytically, you can sit here and concede that she is entitled to the presumption of innocence, and as she sits here is cloaked with that presumption, correct?
Correct.
Can you do so that emotionally?
That's what the pause was for.
Okay. Do you emotionally, on some emotional level, believe that she is guilty or might be guilty of the crime she is charged with?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think those emotional feelings might affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror?
I would hope not. I can't answer that.
Okay. Do you believe that it is a possibility that your emotions could intrude upon your analytical sense and affect your ability to decide this case based fairly on the facts?
It's possible, yes.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Does the state have any follow-up?
No, sir.
You may follow the instructions of the clerk. What's the state's position?
This is a qualified jury, Your Honor.
Defense?
We would move to excuse her for cause based on her last answers, Your Honor. She said she has emotional beliefs that might affect her ability to decide this case fair and impartially. She could not state with any degree of certainty whether or not those emotions might intrude upon her ability to evaluate this case strictly on the evidence, and she essentially said her emotions believe that Andrea Snyderman is guilty of something.
Response?
I don't believe that that was a fair characterization of what this juror said, but I would.
Just hold for a second. Go ahead.
But certainly everyone's aware that the standard of excusing a juror for cause is not because she has an emotional, may or may not have an emotional reaction to the facts of the case, or because that she hopes that she wouldn't and is concerned about her ability to set anything aside. The legal standard for excusing a juror for cause is someone who had a fixed and definite opinion such that she could not set it aside and serve as a juror on this case. And this juror said, by my count, at least 4 times that she had actually no opinion about the case, and that whatever she did know or had learned about the case, she would be able to set aside. Right now, she said there is innocence and no guilt. That's what she articulated, and I believe the record reflects that this juror is a qualified juror.
Anything else, Ms. Clay?
Yeah, all I would note is the court would take note of the fact that when I asked her a question about her ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror, there was a lengthy pause that went on for at least 20 to 30 seconds before she was able to provide an answer. And then when I asked her to elaborate, she did indicate that the reason for the pause was that there was a part of her that believed that Andrea Snyderman was guilty and would affect her ability to decide this case fairly and impartially.
I'm going to overrule the objection. She's qualified based on her responses, based on all the questions in totality. Bring in the next one. She's qualified. Maxine's qualified.